Hello everyone, this is Gary from Fantastic Fundas, and today in this lecture we are going to talk about a revolution which totally changed the way things were happening in India regarding the freedom, and this is known as the Quit India movement. Some people also call it in Hindi as Bharat Chodo Andolan. Do not get confused by these other names for the same revolution. This is also known as August Revolution because it happened in the month of August, so it is also known by this name. Right. Now, I'll give you a background to this what was this Quit India movement and why it came and all the story. Just one quick fact, and that all of you are probably already aware of, is that this Quit India movement, it was a period of unparalleled heroism. I'll just write this again for the sake of clarity. Unparalleled heroism. And also it was a phase of brutal repression by the Britishers. There was no basic civil liberty. There was any kind of political activity was considered illegal at this time. So we already know that we're already aware of this thing, right? Heroism and the brutal repression at this time. The question is, were we not aware that if we indulge in such kind of heroism, there would be brutal expression by the Britishers, there would be repression by them? Of course we were. The question is that why then did we indulge in such kind of heroism? Or in other words, what are the reasons that led to the Quit India movement? Or simply put, what is the background in which the Quit India movement came to India? So we are discussing now the background to the Quit India movement. To understand the background, let's quickly do the recap of the things that we have done already in the earlier lectures, and that is we discussed about you remember this, right? 1937-39 phase, we won the Congress won the elections, and then World War II came, and meanwhile this Muslim League was going crazy. That brought the Lahore resolution, and then Britishers said no, we can't fight the war alone, we need your support, and there was international pressure and all that story. So they brought the August offer also, and we said that you agree to our demands, otherwise we'll begin with the individual satyagrah. That was a sort of a compromise because, as Gandhi said, we did not want to embarrass the Britishers in the war effort against the fascism. And then in the last lecture we also talked about the Cripps' mission. And this Cripps mission, we talked that how he came and he could not do much in India and how he had to go back. Now, when Cripps went back, we were getting restless. Now what to do? We are already done with the individual satyagrah. Something had to be done. British could offer Cripps, but Cripps failed. So what followed? Our step that followed. You see, this is okay. Let me just change the color. This is this over here. This is Congress. Okay, this is us. This is again now British. Now this is us. We can call it us because we are Muslim League was part of India only after all, and August offered then by the British, and then this is by us it was individual satyagrah, and this over here was the step by the British. So alternatively, it's like the game of chess. You move one step, we move one step, one after other. So what was the next step after individual satyagrah that was done by the Indians? This step is what is called as the Quit India movement. Now if I asked you the reasons of the Quit India movement, we see repeated attempts are being made. They take a step, we take a step. Every time things are not getting fulfilled, so we take the next step, and thus it was Quit India movement. I hope this is clear. No one will explain you this thing in such a manner, but this is very important for the understanding of the history. Now if I may ask you that what are the reasons for the launch of the Quit India movement, and if you can think of the reasons, now just pause this video here and think that what are the reasons, just note down them in your copy, the reasons you can think that Indians will launch the Quit India movement. Okay, now the first reason, let's talk about the immediate reason. We can say that the failure of Cripps mission, as I just showed you, that how every time the step was failed by them, we had to take some step, and because the Cripps failed, now we had to do something, so we did this. Actually, the failure of Cripps had embittered the Indians, that these Britishers, they are not going to do anything for us Indians. These foolish people, they just keep on promising us things. Sometimes they will come up with August offers, sometimes with the Cripps offer. What are they up to? So we were embittered, we were angry against the Britishers, especially after the failure of the Cripps. It was the test of our patience, and we were done with it, and thus we were ready to fight the Britishers, take them head on. The second reason is that the leadership, and by which I mean primarily Gandhi and Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, they were now convinced that any further silence, it would mean accepting Britishers as the future rulers. And because you see, and then Gandhi was also getting more militant because of this Japanese aggression. That had also changed his thought process, Japanese aggression, and he was aware that if something is not done now, today we are being ruled by the Britishers, tomorrow we will be ruled by the Japanese. And Gandhi and Nehru and other leaders, they understood this thing, and especially all the other leaders who were ready to fight on. And then you already know that this Quit India movement was happening when there was World War going on, right? Because this was in August of 1942, this movement. Now whenever wars happen, there is huge demand. Why? People are worried that the goods will get costlier, and there is huge demand, and there is also inflation. There are other reasons also, because the consumption also gets high and military expenditure arises, and so many things, other economic angles. But primarily, you know this thing, that during the war there is a high demand and the inflation is also very high. Things get very costly. So that means because of the high demand, there is the shortage of goods, because production cannot arise suddenly, and because of the inflation, things are very costly. And when there is a shortage of the goods and things are costly, then what will happen? People will get angry, and this is what happened here. Let's see what is the other reason at this time. What had happened that in Bengal and Odisha, let me write it here, in Bengal and Odisha, or Odisha today, Britishers prohibited using the boats. Now this is a very technical reason. They said you cannot use the boats because they feared that that these boats might be used by the Japanese, and because we Indians could not use our own boats, and please remember that this is Bengal and Odisha, where people primarily depend on their boats to get their food from the sea, from the lake. Now people were angry, and this anger aroused against the Britishers in the shape of Quit India movement. Number 5, the reason is that now there was growing feeling that these Britishers, ultimately they are going to collapse. Now this feeling was already getting stronger, that Britishers are going to collapse. Now please understand that it was this feeling that the Britishers are going to collapse which played a very important role in the downfall of the Britishers in India. Please remember this thing. And a lot of people say that what did Gandhi achieve and what did all these movements achieve? It was this feeling that the Britishers are going to get collapsed. This got stronger because of all the movements that happened before 1947. 1947 was just the culmination, was just the achievement of all the things that we were trying. All the result came together in one day. Right? Just like any examination, you have the preliminary stage, the main stage, the interview stage. What do you think when you prepare for your preliminary exam, or for any exam, let's say, and when you get your result, and you cannot say that you cleared your exam because of the interview. You cannot say that. Interview alone did not help you. Yes, it did. But then there were many other things before that. Prelim exam had an important role, mains exam. So this way, same was with the Britishers. Ultimate role was played by so many things. That is the conclusion, right? Now number 6 is that in Malaya and Burma. Now this is again a very important point and very popular among the teachers. I don't know why they often ask this point in your exam. They like this to be quoted in your written answers. And that in these two places, Malaya and Burma, what Britishers did, that they evacuated the white residents from these citizens, but the rest were left to fate, and this was considered as the British betrayal. Please remember, this is a typical word over here. What is the British betrayal during the August Revolution? It is this, British betrayal. Do not forget this. Okay, I'll just write this thing over here, British betrayal. And this is probably very important because it also showed that how Britishers were very racist in their attitude. So all this became very important for this purpose. Now moving ahead, number 7, and I'll just put it here on the top of the page. Number 7 is that the people were getting now demoralized, that nothing is happening. There is frustration in the people, and the leaders realized this thing very well. That they realized that in the event of Japanese occupation, Indians might not resist at all. In order to prepare the people for the Japanese aggression, the people of India need to be prepared, and thus they also supported the leaders, I mean, supported the Quit India movement. So now we know that something is going to happen. Things are coming up. It's like, just right before the war, the preparation stage is full. So it is just that stage. Now what happens just before this stage? This is in August. Now let's see what's happening before that. In April, you don't have to remember these months. This is just to explain you so that you get in the hang of the things, how they were flowing. You don't have to remember the months, but if you remember the order of the things as they happened, which is quite natural thing, it's easy to remember the order. That way history can be easily recalled. That will help you. So in April 1942, Gandhi drafted the resolution for the Congress Working Committee, and in this resolution he called for the British withdrawal from India, and number 2 he called for was the adoption of non-violent, number 1, and the non-cooperation struggle against the Japanese invasion. Now you see, Indians are also worried about the Japanese attacking us, not just not the Britishers, because we are getting worried that we might be now under Japanese after some time, if not the Britishers. So this is like one thing that what Gandhi had to say about this. Then after this, you also must know that what Nehru was thinking during this time. Nehru was little puzzled, and he could agree to the movement only in the August of 1942 that we can pursue with something. And then anyway, so we were talking about April 1942. We know this thing that the Congress started moving towards the Quit India movement, and the Britishers are of course they are doing their own planning, the Britishers, to suppress it. So the Congress Working Committee, this met at a place called Wardha, and this was in July of 1942, just 1 month to the Quit India movement. July 1942, they met at this place called Gowalia Tank, and this is in Mumbai. And here they held the idea of struggle. The idea of the struggle was ratified over here. The idea of struggle. Number 1. That's one. Number 2, they said that we want immediate end to the British rule in India. Immediate end to the British rule. Number 3 said India was free to defend against imperialism and fascism. They declared that. They declared that we are going to launch the civil disobedience movement, that we immediately want a provisional government in India, and Gandhi will be the leader. And this time Gandhi, he comes with his speech, and in his speech over here he gives the slogan of do or die. Karo ya maro, do or die. He assured people that he will not settle for anything less than freedom when he does talk with Viceroy this time. And Gandhi also gave instructions to a lot of people. For example, to the government servants, he said that don't resign. Okay, now this has been asked in your examination. This quotation was given, and probably the question was who said that, or probably the question was that when was it said. It can be either way. So he said, government servants don't resign, but show allegiance to Congress. Soldiers to, he said, don't shoot, but don't leave your jobs, but don't shoot your own people. To the princes, you see, Gandhi over here, he had instructions for everyone. And to the princes, let me just write it here. To the princes, he said, accept the sovereignty of your own people. So he asked the princes to accept the sovereignty of the people of India. And to the people in the princely states, he said that declare that you are part of India nation, and you would accept the leadership of princes only if princes support the people of India. And to his favorites, and that this was the easiest, he asked the students, if you can manage, you can leave the study, just struggle with us, fight with us, right? And to the peasants, he said, if you have the courage. Now this is important because he's calling everyone over here. He says to the peasant, if you have the courage, risk your everything, and you refuse to pay the land revenue, then we'll see what can be done.
And now I would like you to see this short clip regarding the history that I just taught you. You can see the history in action on your own.
The leaders assembled in Bombay on the eve of the All India Congress Committee meeting, which had been summoned to endorse the Quit India resolution. On August 7th, 1942, the sullen passivity of the people was converted into a spirit of non-submission and resistance. They assembled at the Gowalia tank Maidan and awaited the final call for India's deliverance. Proceedings of the historic session, President Azad explained that the Quit India proposal meant withdraw as masters and pointed out power, when it comes, will belong to the whole people of India. Moving the Quit India resolution, Jawaharlal Nehru affirmed that its conception was not narrow nationalism and in no sense a threat, but an offer of cooperation of a free India. Seconding the resolution, Sardar Patel declared to rouse the people to a supreme effort, it must dawn on them that this is a people's war. Amid deafening applause, the Quit India resolution, representing the voice of the oppressed people, was carried with overwhelming majority, only 13 voting against. Outlining his plan of action, Gandhi spoke for 2 hours. He declared that he would try for an honorable settlement before commencing the actual struggle. Concluding, Gandhi said, here is a dictum for the non-violent soldier of freedom, do or die.
Finally, now on 8th August 1942, 8th August 1942, Congress, All India Congress Committee, it met at Bombay and it passed this famous resolution which is called as the Quit India Resolution, and it proposed the starting of the non-violent mass under the Gandhi struggle. What this resolution had to say, I will just read it out to you, and please listen to this carefully, because a lot of people, they just give you the quotation and they ask you that when was this said, who said this, so you don't get confused regarding this. So let's listen to this carefully. You can read it along with on your screen. The immediate ending of the British rule in India is an urgent necessity, both for the sake of India and for the success of the cause of the United Nations. India, the classic land of modern imperialism, has become the crux of the question. For by the freedom of India will Britain and the United Nations be judged, and the people of Asia and Africa be filled with hope and enthusiasm. You see what's happening? This resolution is taking the world along. This is pure statesmanship. The ending of the British rule in this country is thus a vital and immediate issue on which depends the future of the war and the success of freedom and democracy. A free India will assure this success by throwing all her great resources in the struggle for freedom and against the aggression of Nazism, fascism, and imperialism. This is the resolution. We are openly declaring that we are against whatever form of exploitation it might be.
All this was the basic about the Quit India movement. So the first part of the Quit India movement is over. Now that is the basics. Now in the next lecture we will be talking about that what was the government reaction to the coming up of the Quit India movement. So basically we'll be covering the reactions, because number one is government, and then what was the reaction of the people to the reaction of the government. Okay, so there's you have basic of the Quit India movement, the government reacts to it, then people will react to that. We will be discussing that, and then we'll also talk about the underground activity that was going on at this time, the underground activity. And next also that this will also be covered in the next lecture, and these are the when Quit India movement was happening, what were the features of the Quit India movement. For example, we will talk about the parallel governments, and we'll also talk about the popular participation, the people who participated in this movement and people who did not participate. For example, it did not attract labor class in general as it should have ideally. And then we'll also talk about there are 2-3 debates which associate the Quit India movement and all these things. And then we will move ahead with other things in the modern history which happened after the Quit India movement. Now, before you go, make sure that you have shared this lecture with others, because that's the best way of helping me. And the way I'm helping you, you can also help me with this. And if you like the lecture, do not forget to click on the like button right below this video. And lastly, if you like this video and you want to have all the future videos in your email box, then you need to subscribe to us, and that you can do by clicking over here on this button. So that is all, and thank you so much for watching this video.